Guys, the time has finally come. I'm going to produce my own song. I'm gonna do it. I am going to do it. But first, I gotta find a sample, alright? Here we go.
One eternity later.
Guys, I hate to tell you this. I don't think it's gonna work. I can't find a sample that really works with me, that matches my vision. I think it's just time to give up on my dreams. Okay, I'm just gonna go back on YouTube and just watch some brain rot. Cause that's all I'm good at. Okay.
早上好，中国！现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋，但是速度与激情就比冰淇淋速度与激情就我最喜欢冰淇淋。早上好，早上好，早上好，冰淇淋。早上好，早上好，早上好，冰淇淋。早上好，早上好，早上好，冰淇淋。早上好，早上好，早上好。
Bing Chilling will be streaming on Spotify, Apple Music, Napster, all platforms, so don't worry, guys. You can add it to your Beast Mode playlist soon. Samples are something that, if they didn't exist, we would lose countless tracks we know and love. And even tracks that you wouldn't expect to use sampling. Sampling yields a way for artists to express themselves despite having no formal training or money for instruments. It's the creation of a song using a clip from someone else's track. You can cut it up, stretch it, distort it, reverse it, whatever you want. As long as you get it cleared by the copyright owner. Otherwise, it's a big mess you don't want to clean up. Some of the most common samples are from artists like James Brown, whose instrumentation set the groundwork for how modern music sounds. You most definitely recognize the drum beat at the end of the song Funky Drummer, because it's used in countless hip-hop tracks, from something as major as Rebel Without a Pause to MCs just freestyling on the streets.
Turn it up!
Oh, okay.
But today, we're gonna look at some more exotic samples. Samples that make you go, he sampled what?
You know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not.
It gets the people going.
And also some samples that just have a all-around powerful message that I think this song wouldn't be the same without. To start us off, I'd like to talk about Kanye West's Remote Control. It all starts with the video Donkey Leaks Donda.
I was at the stadium and I snuck back into Kanye's secret mixing room. And I saw a hard drive labeled.
What's a Donda?
That's the Donda drive, he said. I touched it. He said, never touch that. That's the Donda drive. And I took it and I went home.
Now, this video was clearly a joke, as most of Video Game Donkey's videos are. But there's one part in which he plays this.
Schwabble double glibber glabber schwibble schwab glab. Dibble double shwibble shwabble glibber glab schwab. Schwabble double glibber glabber schwibble schwab dab. Dibble double shwibble shwabble glibber schwab glab.
Now fast forward to a few days later, and Kanye West holds a third listening party for the album. He plays his new song Remote Control, and it's relatively good. It's smooth, calm, Young Thug's on it. He works really well for the track. But as the track comes to a close, there it is. The one, the only Globe Galab Galab song. So, either Donkey correctly predicted the sample, or Kanye saw Donkey's video and decided to include this whack clip. It's a pretty funny situation, but I really can't get behind the sample. He really just threw it in at the end of the song, and it isn't implemented in any creative manner. But don't be fooled! In the past, Kanye has had some legendary samples. It's one of the many ways Kanye reinvented the rap industry. There's a lot of tracks in which he uses sampling to bring attention to struggles by the Black community. Diamonds from Sierra Leone is all about the blood diamond crisis in Sierra Leone. Back in 1991, a civil war broke out between the national government and the Revolutionary United Front. In order to build their army and weapons, the RUF forced children to illegally mine diamonds, which would then be sold to terrorist groups. The mining of these gems not only fed the bloody conflict, but violent activity would occur within the mines themselves. The sampling of Shirley Bassey's famous song highlights the irony in how diamonds are something people use to show their love for one another, but have been born out of murder, trafficking, and assault. The line "Diamonds are forever" represents an eternal marital bond, as well as how, at this rate, diamonds will forever be born out of violence. Gil Scott-Heron's Comment One poem is sampled explicitly in the closing track of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Scott-Heron refers to America as a bastard child, born from the British white man and the African slave. A child the slave never wanted, and the British man apologizes with fake promises of freedom and democracy. Will it be the oppressor that survives in America, or the oppressed after decades of torment? The most interesting Kanye song, including racial commentary, is Blood on the Leaves.
Do you like Kanye West?
It's okay, I guess.
The sample on this track is Nina Simone's Strange Fruit. Strange fruit referring to lynched African Americans hanging from trees. What's fascinating to me is how this is a song about heartbreak. Producer Hudson Mohawk explains that an overtly political message would have been too easy, and Kanye's personal narrative creates a dynamic track. It's quite an awkward sample to work around, and actually needed 6 different producers to make it work. If you're familiar with Blood on the Leaves, but haven't listened to Nina Simone's original performance, I highly recommend doing so. It's one of the most emotionally raw and vulnerable performances I've ever heard. Being a big movie fan, some of my favorite samples come from different films. A$AP Mob reverses Goblin's haunting score for the film Suspiria to create the song of a ringing telephone for their song Telephone Calls.
Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
To the Beastie Boys, it's probably Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, because it's sampled in their track Eggman. A silly narrative of them driving around town throwing eggs at people is turned into a haunting tale due to its inclusion of the notorious violin screech. Frank Ocean highlights all the heinous things men can get away with in his song Love Crimes. His message is reinforced by Nicole Kidman's monologue from Eyes Wide Shut at the end of the track. The entire film is about the allure of sex and how much people are willing to sacrifice in order to get it.
And I thought if he wanted me, even if it was only for one night, I was ready to give up everything.
The character in this song is willing to give up quite a lot, as he says he's risking a long vacation, also known as a prison sentence. The film also dives into the nature of commitment and what being someone's lover truly means to them. Frank asks, is it casually making love, or is it something as far as sharing a kid together? Toni Collette's scream in Hereditary creates quite the unnerving track. In Sign Crush's Motorists, I threw a rock over an overpass and killed a guy. It shows how fragile human life is, and how one can quickly be ended by accident. It's a song meant to be horrifying, and it does such a good job of achieving that, to the point where I never want to listen to it again. Just like movies, there have been a lot of pretty neat video game samples.
Look at this shit.
The Mario coin sound effect gives Charlie XCX's Boys its light euphoric tone. On the other hand, the Brinstar Depth soundtrack from Super Metroid gives Baby Keem's gang activities a rough, gritty feel. Guys, I knew it. I frickin' knew it. Drake is a Sonic fan. Just look at him. I see the resemblance. This information dropped in 2017 when he sampled a song from the Sonic soundtrack on KMT. Street Fighter II clearly played a large part in Frank Ocean's life, or else he wouldn't have sampled it throughout Channel Orange. It helps to establish the retro world of the album, being filled with arcade cabinets and VCR televisions. The entire project is fairly sparse on samples, so the ones he includes are fairly niche and personal. One of the most interesting is from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
There he goes. One of God's own prototypes. Too weird to live, and too rare to die.
This quote is referring to someone so special that we will never again see the likes of them on this planet. Here, Frank is using it to refer to a girl, but I think to many of us, that person is Frank himself, with his ability to craft uniquely vulnerable songs. Kendrick Lamar shows his silly side, sampling this video in Worldwide Steppers.
Hey yo, what the fuck? There's no cheese?
For being such a serious musician, he does have a few funny samples, such as a clip from the Powderpuff Girls being remixed at the end of Backseat Freestyle.
Ugh, nasty.
And let's not forget the very appropriate sample of Looney Tunes for cartoons and cereal.
Wile E. Coyote.
The reverse speech at the start of Euphoria is actually this clip from The Wiz that Kendrick frames as a quote from Drake.
Everything they say about me is true. I'm a phony. I got no powers. I got no right to be pretending to be the Wiz. Hocus pocus.
But the most complex Kendrick sample is of Fox News on Blood and DNA.
Lamar stated his views on police brutality with that line in the song, quote, "And we hate the popo, want to kill us in the street, faux show." KG.
Ah, please. Ugh, I don't like it.
This is why I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans than racism and...
The two quotes demonstrate how many conservatives deny the part they play in the slander and violence against African Americans. He's pointing out that this bigotry is growing at an uncontrollable rate and will soon cause an American apocalypse. It even sets up for a pretty sad line in the track Yeah, where his niece was excited about seeing Kendrick on TV, but was too innocent to understand that it was Fox News defaming him. Some producers are masters of speech itself. They see words as a collection of phonemes that they can then utilize like keys on a piano. JPEG Mafia uses a clip of Holly Hunter saying, "Only," as the beat to Baby I'm Bleeding. And loops Brian Cox saying,
"I hear you went down. Did you go down?"
to create the beat for Don't Rely on Other Men. Peggy's beats play this trick on the brain where you can't entirely tell if it's an instrument or someone's voice. This uncanny limbo is where his tracks thrive. Peggy pieces together a clip of an elderly woman on a computer to create his own producer tag.
I've named this one JPEG.
I actually believe this is Peggy's mom saying this for the longest time and thought it was pretty cute every time I heard it. It's pretty fitting for a track called Kingdom Hearts Key to sample a song from an anime. He really captures the ethereal and uplifting feeling that many anime intros have, while simultaneously creating a track that you can easily cue at a party. MF Doom is another great use of an anime song in his track Angels, along with a clip of audio of Mr. T in a World of Warcraft advertisement. Mac Miller has sampled a few animes, but my very favorite is on his Kids' physical release track, Traffic in the Sky. It's actually hard to notice that it's from an anime at all, and ends up sounding more like reggae with its steel drums intro. DJ Shadow went to the extreme and created an album entirely made of samples. An article in Spin Magazine calls it a trip to a time-warped parallel universe where 60s British psychedelic singers share splits with 70s funk drummers. He's known for including forgotten artists in his tracks that no one has heard of besides him. This brings me to an important point about sampling, and that in order to be a great producer, you need to have an encyclopedia of music knowledge. In his Nardwuar interview, Tyler the Creator talks about how he spends 2 hours a day listening to music he's never heard of in order to find samples he could potentially use. Artists like Q-Tip and Questlove basically own entire libraries of vinyls, and you even need a ladder to access them all. You never know when you're going to find a cool piece of music to sample, so the best thing to do is just go to your local Goodwill, pick up a few vinyls, and see what gold you can find. One fact about sampling that I think is just so weird is that Pharrell Williams has sampled this video 7 times. And not even for just one part, but several different moments across this clip.
And you want to be let out of here, you're welcome to go. Now wait a minute.
I have every right to live.
Well, wait a minute.
You wouldn't let anybody speak so that you can cheat the pit. One day God's going to stand before you, and he's going to judge you, and the rest of you.
Fred again is someone who incorporates clips of people on the internet in most of his tracks.
I mean, I don't know, it's something about that song that just make you want to get up and bust a motherfucking move.
This not only creates a unique sound, but contributes to the central theme of each song. Sabrina chops up and rearranges a poem delivered by Sabrina Benneman. Here she describes her depression and anxiety in a way that is easier to understand for those who've never experienced it.
Mom, I am the party. Only I am a party I don't want to be at. Go, it's just not that much fun having fun when you don't want to have fun, Mom.
There's a layer of irony in creating an electronic dance track about someone who doesn't want to be at a party. It captures the isolation and chaos of being at a social event alone, and how that feeling is always there for someone suffering from anxiety and depression. We're really grateful for Fred again because he accurately demonstrates the isolation that COVID brought. Yasmina's voice and See Your Face Again reflects a desperate longing for any kind of human connection. This is further supported by Maria on the closing track of Actual Life 1.
This year we've had to lose our space. We've lost the hugs with friends and people we loved. We've lost dancing.
It's such a simple thing that we never think of missing until it's actually gone. Death Grips has quite a sinister intro to ex-military by including an interview of Charles Manson.
Work for what? Money? I got all the money in the world. I'm the king, man. I run the underworld, guy.
Don't know exactly how they got that sample cleared? Do you just go ask him, or They're known for countless other bizarre samples.
Doors and windows on. Motions on.
And often sampling their own music. System Blower loops the sound of Serena Williams grunting while hitting a tennis ball, and the track has the underlying sound of a Vancouver SkyTrain. As funny as it may seem, it's not that weird to me. To me, Serena's grunt isn't any different from Rick Ross's ad-lib or Chance the Rapper's either. And the SkyTrain doesn't stray too far from some kind of synth. It proves that music can be found in all corners of life, and you can make art as long as you pay attention to the world around you. Back to Death Grips. Their utilization of
Palikudam Pogalama
from Bollywood film
Koil Kalai
on the Fever creates this digitized sound that much of their tracks are known for. If you've never listened to Death Grips, you can sort of think of it as your brain being overwhelmed with every internet rabbit hole you've ever experienced, all at once. Speaking of Bollywood, transition. The haunting strings on Cardi's Go To the Moon are actually from Bollywood film Bobby. And surprisingly, the famous violin part in Britney Spears' Toxic is actually a sample of another Bollywood song called
Tere Mere Beech Mein.
It goes to show many iconic songs that we consider utterly individual are actually sourced from other works. Olivia Rodrigo's Good For You sounds eerily similar to the punk anthem Misery Business because it samples a major part of it. It's kind of like Olivia Rodrigo copied Paramore's Homework and ended up receiving the highest grade in the class. I'm not trying to criticize Olivia too much. Paramore is clearly one of her big influences, and she's trying to reciprocate the joy she feels while listening to their tracks. It's so great to me that the music industry isn't just a collection of individual artists, but it's focused on the endless conversations between them. The majority of artists aren't just trying to steal other people's work just to make money. They're trying to convey a specific emotion, and sometimes that comes from a piece of media that's very important to them. In the end, everyone has the same goal of making the most beautiful art possible, and that can't be achieved if You don't build off what came before.
Way I'm never gonna be able to do it any better than what they did. This is just my version.
冰淇淋，早上好，早上好。